Hello, everyone. I'm going to show you how to use NotebookLM to help you to analyze your qualitative data. As you can see here on your left side, you can see all my 5 interview transcript that I have. And then I also on my right side, these are the things that I've created. Before I go to my right side, here is a place where you're going to have a conversation with the system so that you'll be able to make sense of your data. As you can see here, I have a custom description. We call it system prompt. So you can see here that I've given the system instructions in terms of the role, the context, and the kind of output that I want from the system, all right? And I'm going to show you how I was able to create that. Let me go to this part. The right side, these are the things that I've created. The first one is the mind map. So as you can see here, the system was able to go through all the transcripts and generated this mind map. And as you can see, these are the main causes of burnout based on the document that I've provided. And also, these are the statement or information that was extracted from the data in connection to the theme and also in connection to this category, which is the causes of burnout. And you can also download it if you want to. Let me go back again and then show you another thing that I created. So this one is the table that I created. So as you can see here, based on the data that I gave to the system, it was able to create demographic table and also a brief information about the participant responses to areas or the questions that was asked. So you can see this as like brief information about each participant, including their demographic information. And then I was able to create a video. This is a short video based on the data that I gave to the system. So let me play a little bit so that you can see.
This foundation of empathy is the standard entry point for the profession, but the modern environment of healthcare places a heavy, often unexpected strain on those most driven by it. Despite these deep motivations, many practitioners eventually hit an invisible wall, finding themselves physically and mentally exhausted by the very work they love.
So you see how you can create a short video that provide you overview of the document that you provide to the system. Or you can select a specific document. This time I selected all the 6 documents that I have here. You can select only one of the documents and create a video. You have a lot of options here. And you can also download the video if you want to. Let me go down here. Here, I created a visual representation based on the findings, right? So based on the findings, this is what I created. And I'm going to show you how I was able to create. As you can see, Notebook LM can help you to make sense of your data. And I want to emphasize on this very important point. Notebook LM is an AI tool developed by Google, right? And it helps you to make sense of any information that you give to the system, right? And one of the capabilities is to help you to make sense of your data. But I always want to emphasize that don't over depend on these tools. See them as tools that will help you to make sense of your data. So this means that you are going to analyze your data and then since you are going to analyze your data, you should have a basic understanding of how to analyze qualitative data. Let's say you want to do a thematic analysis and you want to use a software like NotebookLM to help you to analyze your data using thematic analysis strategy. You as a researcher have to have at least a basic understanding of how to conduct thematic analysis so that when the system is providing you wrong information, you'll be able to know and also you also be able to instruct the system what you want it to do for you. You'll be able to also evaluate the output, making sure that they are addressing the research questions. And if you want to learn more about how to analyze your qualitative data, this book that I wrote will be very helpful for you. This is a second edition, step-by-step guide to qualitative coding. And when you go to chapter 15, the last chapter, it gives you information about how to use AI to help you to make sense of your data. So it's going to be very useful for you if you want to learn, get a basic understanding of analyzing qualitative data and also how to use AI models to help you to make sense of your data. So back to NotebookLM. So basically what happened is that it gives you the chance for you to upload all your data, if it's in PDF form or Word document or website, in any form, like maybe in a video on YouTube, you could be able to put the YouTube link there, and the system will be able to upload that information, and then you'll be able to work on that data source. You can also chat with the document. So when you upload all the information into a notebook LM, you can have a conversation the same way that you can have a conversation with your document when you upload it into ChatGPT, the same skill. But one thing that you have to note is that you should have a skill in prompting the system so that you can get rich information from them, right? So I'm going to show you how to prompt the system. You can also provide your research question and the system can go through the transcript or the information that you have uploaded, and then it will be able to answer the research question for you. But always you have to evaluate because the system can make mistakes. It's not a perfect system or it's not a perfect tool. So you always have to check the results. So in terms of setting up, I'm going to show you how to set up. So you just upload all the transcript. So in this case, let me go back to what we're going to do here. So I have my transcript here. These are the 5 transcripts that I have. Let me double click on one of them so that you can see how it looks like. So each of the transcripts is just a page. It gives you the demographic information and also participant responses to questions related to burnout and then the causes of burnout and also the solutions, right? So as you can see here, I have removed any identifiable information and also I've given them labels like P1 or participant 1. And then, so it's very important before you upload everything, your transcript into the system, you always have to make sure that all identifiable information have been removed. So it's very important for you to do that. And then let me give you a little background of this data. The purpose of a qualitative study is to explore primary healthcare physicians' experience about the causes and the solutions of burnout. I have my 2 research questions, but for this demonstration, I'm going to only focus on the first research question. And then as you can see here, I have demographic information, their age, gender, years of experience, and ethnicity. And I'm also going to put a link in the description in case you want to get access to this data set so that you can practice. So that's a brief information about the study. So this is what I'm gonna do. So we're gonna go to Notebook LM. You can use it for free. So what you're gonna do is that I'm going to go to Notebook LM. Notebook LM, I search for it and make sure that you are clicking on the right one. It's developed by Google. So I click on this one. So when you open this, what you're going to see, and then you click on try. If you have already opened your Gmail account, it will log in with your Gmail information. If you haven't, it will ask you to set things up. So you just have to follow the instructions. When you reach this stage, you click on create new notebook. I click on that, and then it will be asking you to upload the files that you want to upload. So you can click here to upload the files from your computer. If it is a website, you can just click on this or YouTube link. You can provide that. You can also copy and paste the text if you want to copy and paste that. If the information is saved in your Google Drive, you can also click on this one. I have my information on the computer, so I click on this to import. So then I select all my 5 transcripts and click on open. And then when you do that, all your transcripts will be on your left side. So you see that I have my 5 transcripts here. You see that everything is checked. If you want to have a conversation with the system, focusing on all these transcripts, then you have to make sure that this is checked, right? If you want to only have a conversation with the system, focusing on one of the transcript or 2, you can uncheck this one and check the ones that you want the system to have a conversation with. You can also delete if you don't want the document to be shown here, or if you want to eliminate the document, you can then click on this one and remove source, and then it will be deleted. You can also rename it, as you can see here. You can rename the document if you want to. So this is what I have for you in terms of importing. The next step is to go to this place, configure notes. When you click on that, this is where you're going to give an instruction to the system that will shape how the system process your information and provide you an output, right? If you leave this one alone without doing anything, it can give you generic responses. It's not going to be more efficient. So I always suggest that go here and make the necessary adjustment. So the first part here, we call it system prompt, right? You are going to give the system a prompt whenever you have a communication or chat with the system. A system prompt will be the main instructions that will affect the conversation you're going to have with the system. So it's very important to provide that information. You click here, and then you can provide information about what role do you want the system to play, in what context, what kind of output do you want the system to provide? Is there any limitations that you want to provide to the system? We call it delimitations, right? What do you want the system always to do? You're trying to give the system some boundaries. So this one, you can type in the information, or you can seek help from AI to help you to generate a very good system prompt, and then you just copy and paste it here. So let me show you what I did, right? So I went to ChatGPT. You can use ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini to do what I'm going to show you right now. So before I show you, let's go back again. You see here, it's just showing 10,000. This means that you have to provide not more than 10,000 characters, right? It's about 2,000 words, right? So the instruction should not be more than 2,000 words. So keep this one in mind as you are preparing or developing instructions for the system. So think about this place as like a system instructions, or we call it system prompt. The instruction that will manage the conversation you're going to have with the system, right? So let's come back here. I go to ChatGPT, click on new, and then put my prompt here. And the prompt don't have to be perfect, but it should include some information that I have here, right? So one thing that I want to emphasize is that I want ChatGPT to develop system prompt for me, or we can call it system instructions, right? And I've given the system the limit, right? It should not be more than 10,000 characters, which is about 2,000 words. And then I want the system to provide the role, context, and how the output should look like, right? Then I provide information about the role that NotebookLM should play in the analysis. So the role is a qualitative researcher with high experience in conducting thematic analysis, right? So then you also have to provide some information. The model will be giving participant transcripts to analyze. Make sure any output generated is based on the data, right? So you see how I have given, we call this one delimitation. I am trying to let the system know that it should not go beyond the data that has been provided. If you don't do that, the system can make things up, might get some information online and add it to the results. We don't want the system to do that, right? So providing this one would be helpful for the system to generate a system instruction or system prompt for you to use it for the next stage, right? So this small information I'm giving the system is going to help it to provide me system instructions. So let me click on enter and let's see what it provides. So it has provided me information. I just have to copy and paste them. You just have to also review, making sure that you agree with the information. You can always make an adjustment. So you see that the system has provided a role as an experienced qualitative researcher who is expert in thematic analysis. And then the context. The context is that the system is going to analyze participant transcript. Okay. And it has also provided it some restrictions, right, which is called delimitations, right? So that the system will do what you expect it to do. It will not go beyond the data set that has been provided, right? And then it's giving the system what exactly it has to do and providing the system some examples of themes, sub-themes, initial codes. Okay, so if you are okay with what the system has provided to you, so you just have to copy. So I'm going to copy this one. And then let me copy that and I go to NotebookLM and put that information here. Right. So you see here that I click on custom. I went to ChatGPT, or you can go to and use Gemini or any AI tool to help you to generate a system prompt that will help to do what you expect it to do, right? And then here you can choose longer because you want a longer responses, right? Not very short because you want the system to really provide you detailed information when you ask it, right? So after that, you click on save. Now I'm done with providing the system information that will help the conversation. Now you start the coding process. Make sure that you select everything. So you start a conversation. The first step is to familiarize yourself with the data, right? So as you can see here, I've provided information, a prompt here for the system to do something for me. What I want the system to do is to review the transcript and learn a little bit about the transcript. So this is what I said, right? Based on the first step of thematic analysis, can you review the transcript, familiarizing yourself with the data? The purpose of this qualitative study is to explore primary healthcare physicians' experience about the causes of burnout. So let's see what the system will provide us. Okay, so as you can see here, the system has already started the process. I wanted it to just review the data and then give me a little overview, but it went beyond reviewing and providing initial codes. So as you can see here, all the participants, the accepts, and also the initial codes. So initial codes are labels that represent significant information the system has extracted, right? As of now, the system doesn't know my research question, but it knows the purpose of the study, right? So you see the same strategy that you use when you are doing an interview using semi-structured interview strategy. You ask participant a question, and based on what they say, you ask further questions. So if you are not satisfied with the information that it has provided to you, or you need more information, you just continue to ask, right? So that's what you're going to do. I wasn't expecting the system to give me initial codes. I wanted the system to just give me overview. And then after that, I asked it to provide me initial codes, but it looks like it has already done that here. But this is what I'm going to go ahead. This is my second prompt. Can you start the coding process, extracting significant information and developing initial codes? The codes should represent the quotation extracted from the data and address the research question. And then this is a research question. What are the causes of burnout among primary healthcare physicians, right? So I click on enter. You see here 5 sources. This means that all the information will be coming from these sources. If I remove one, it will be 4. So you make sure that all the transcripts have been selected and then you click on enter. And let's see what the system will provide us. As we are waiting for the system to provide us the findings, you can go here. You see table. If you have some demographic information in the data, the system can go through and extract all the demographic information and also some responses to questions that you ask participants. It's not going to be perfect, but you can do that and then cross-check, make sure that everything is right. So if you want to create a table, you click on this one, and then it will generate a table. As you are waiting for the system to finish creating a table, we can also review what the system has provided us. So this is the table the system has provided us. You have the quotation and also initial quote. You have to review them and make sure that they are directly addressing the research question and also representing the information that the system has provided to us. Let's go through some of them. Clinical and administrative tasks. This one can cause burnout, right? So you can see the quotation hours, numerous clinical and administrative tasks, right? Lack of work-home balance can also cause burnout. Fatigue from dual expectation can cause burnout. So you can review them, making sure that they are addressing the research question. If you don't want some of them, you can remove them, but your responsibility is to review, making sure that the information is right, right? You can also let the system review it, letting the system reflect on what it has done. So you can say that can you review the code, making sure that they address the research question and also representing the quotation that you extracted. And the system can do that. So these are the notes that the system has provided. You can review, making sure that it's accurate. And the great thing is that you see here, you can easily click on this link and it will take you to the document, right? So you can review and make sure that all these are coming from a specific document. So you see participant P1, you can click here and it will take you to participant responses. You can look for the place, there's a place, right? So they call right quotation. Right, so you can always cross-check. You can see here participant P2, you click on this one, it takes you to that place, right? So you can always check. That's what I like about a notebook LM. After providing that information, they also provide you a link for you to also view the source, right? And then you can review and making sure that everything is right. The next step that you can also do is that you can let the system go ahead and develop themes based on initial codes. So you can say, as you can see here, can you review the characteristics of each initial codes and develop themes addressing the following research question? And then this is the causes of burnout research question. So now you see that initially I told you that it's very important for you to be knowledgeable about the approach, right? Because I'm knowledgeable about the thematic analysis approach, I can tell the system what the next step is, right? So I don't wait for the system to tell me the steps. I tell the system the next step and then what it should do. So it's very important for you to learn more about the analysis strategy before you even use the system to help you to make sense of your data. So let's go ahead and click on enter. So as we are waiting for the results, as you can see here, we created a table. Let's click on this one and then the table will show here. Let me make it bigger. Yeah. So as you can see here, the system was able to automatically create a table for us based on the data set or based on the transcript. You see participant 4 and participant 4 demographics in terms of the years of experience, the age, the gender, and also ethnicity, and then brief information about their responses to questions that were asked, right? So as I said, it doesn't mean that this one is accurate. You always have to go and check and make sure that everything is right if you want to use this table, right? So let me close it. Whenever you want to use it, you can always click on it and then go here to make it bigger. And you can also always click here and download, right? You can export it to a Google Sheet and then you can download it from there. So let's go ahead and review what the system has provided us. So the system was able to review the of initial codes and then it went ahead to develop themes. So as you can see here, these are the subthemes and also the codes that are associated with it and the description. So it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4 subthemes. You can review them, look at the codes that are connected to the themes, and then you can make an adjustment if they are not. addressing the research question, also represent the codes, right? So as you can see here, it has provided you some definitions of the themes. So these are the themes. Looks like we have 4 themes, right? And their descriptions, and also provided you some quotations. You can click on the link there. You can see the sources are there for you to review. It gives you an analytical narrative. So you can see this as like a summary of the findings. Based on the themes, it gives you a synthesis of what the findings are. You can copy that information and put it somewhere. You can also save it to Note. So if you want to save it to Note, you can just click on this one, and then it will generate to the right side here, right? So if we click on it, it will be the same thing. So all the conversation I've had with the system is here, right? I can export the document. I like the first option where you can bring this one, the note, back to the source, right? Especially if you want to go further, you want a system to further analyze the output or the notes that it has generated. So I'll go ahead and click on the first option. When you do that, it's now here, right? And also it's selected, right? You can unselect it. So especially if you want to focus on only the interview transcript. But if you want to do anything with this one output there, the notes, you can always select that, right? And maybe unselect the rest. Right. So another thing is that what if you have more than one research question? You do the same process, the same thing that I did, right? You do it for the second research question. The system develop initial codes for you and then categorize the code to develop themes. You can do it if you have 3, you can do it 3 times. If you have 4 research questions, you can do it 4 times, right? I don't support the strategy of giving a system more than one research question for it to figure out things, right? For me, it's easier for you to do one question at a time so that you can review, making sure that everything is right for you to move on to the next stage, right? I like this systematic process because it gives you the chance for you to review every output. Let me unselect everything and select only the notes, right? You remember this note? The note that is here, that was transferred from here to this part, right? Right, I converted it and then now it's a source. Now, based on this note, which has all the initial codes and themes, you can do many things, right? One of the things that you can do is you can create a mind map. So let's try to do a mind map based on only this one document, right? You could also do a mind map based on all the transcript, can select and click on that, but let's do it for only the one document. So you can see here that modern physician burnout. You can consider them as themes, right? I think there are more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are not the exact themes that the system provided, but it gives you an idea about what are the main kind of causes of burnout based on the document that the system reviewed. So this mind map is not perfect, but it gives you an overall idea about what the document is about, right? If it's useful, you can use it. If it's not, you don't have to use it. As I said, think about this as a tool that will help you to make sense of your data. You can download it if you want to download that. And let me go back. And we can also do mind map for the transcript too, if you want to do that. So let's do the one for the transcript. It's gonna look a little different because this time it's focusing on the whole information in the transcript. So let's see. I click on that. So here, participant demographics, and it gives you brief information about their demographics, right? The age is in between 33 to 70, and then their experience is in between 2 to 35. So this is a summary of their demographics. In terms of what motivated them to go into the field of medicine, this is what they talk about. In terms of the causes of burnout, these are the 2 main causes of burnout. So work-related factors, and then it's also broken down into all these things. So you can review this one. This one is really helpful if you want to get an overview of your transcript, right? You want to know what are the main concepts that were treated in the transcript so that you can get a big picture of what they were talking about, right? So that is one thing that you can do. Another one thing that you can do is that let's say we are still focusing on the findings in terms of the document that we have here. Another thing that you can do is that you can even copy only the themes, put it on the document, or you can do it like this. You can copy only the themes, right? And also the analytical narrative. You can right click and copy. And then you can go here, add source, and then you paste it. So you click on copy text and you paste that and you insert, right? So so this means you can take part of the conversation, you have the system and then add it as a source and then use it for your analysis. So let's say I want a system to develop a report based on only the themes, right? I can check that and go to a report, and then I choose the one that I want. I just want concept summary, right? And then you click on it, and the system will generate a report, right? You can check all the transcripts, and then the system can generate a report too. You can do that, right? So you have many options here to do. And what I'm interested in is the same thing back to the notes, right? So let's say you want to create an overview video based on only the conversation we had with the system. You can also create an overview video based on the data that you have, right? But if you want to limit it to maybe the causes of burnout, only that, you can check that document or the source and then click on overview. And here you have a lot of options, but I like the cinematic one. The visuals it's more powerful than the rest. So I click on generate. And when you click on that, there might be options down here. How will you like the video to be customized, right? So you can provide information about how you want the video to be customized, right? Maybe I want the video to emphasize on, let me say, I want the video to focus more on what? Cost. So I'm generating a second one focusing on the courses, and let's see what we're going to get. Let's see whether it's going to be different from the first one where I did not provide any customized information. Okay. And you see here infographics, right? And you see what I've selected is about a conversation I had with the system about initial coding and the themes that were developed to address the first research question. So let me click on this one, infographics, and then let's see what we're going to get from it. So I think the report is ready. Let's click on this one. See here. Okay, so let me pull this one. So you see the system was able to produce a report based on the information that we already added about the notes, right? Let me see. So as you can see here at the beginning, it gives you introduction and talks about the systemic challenges related to burnout. And this one is the first theme, right? And provided information. And then it talks about the second theme and it provide a key insight about that. So this one it can be also be helpful as you start thinking about presenting your findings. It gives you the definition, it provides you more information, and the only limitation here that it doesn't provide you the source, right? Why didn't it provide the source? Maybe because I did not choose all these areas, right? I did not choose the transcript. Maybe that might be the reason why. The infographic is ready. Let me click on that. Let's see. Oh, interesting. So you see that these are the causes of burnout, right? The administrative weight, and you can see that. And then dwell fatigue, the cycle of dwell row fatigue, and then and we also have the severe time constraint. So you see how the system has been able to provide this illustration that's going to be really helpful, especially when you're presenting your findings, and you can put it in your slides, and then you can explain to your audience about all these concepts or the themes that you came. So that's what a system can provide to you. If you are not satisfied, you can always go back to generate more than one, right? You can also develop a PowerPoint slides, right? So you can click on this one and develop a slides. The only limitation is that you cannot edit it when you finish developing, right? Because the slides is like pictures, so it's difficult for you to edit when it's finished generating. So it looks like it's done now. Let's see what we have. Let's see the first one.
When you picture a doctor in an emergency, you probably imagine the ultimate safety net, a steady hand in a room full of chaos, ready to solve any crisis without breaking a sweat. But behind the stethoscope, the reality is entirely different. The people we rely on to keep us healthy are experiencing a deep, pervasive exhaustion that threatens the entire medical workforce. The common explanation you'll hear is simple: doctors just work too many hours. If they could just get a few more days off, the problem would resolve itself. But the data tells us hours alone don't explain it. We have to look at this crisis as a multi-layered occupational hazard built right into the modern system. The exhaustion is driven by a stack of logistical, psychological, and personal pressures. To fix this, we have to look at the specific structural weights creating this pressure. Long hours are often the visible result of a much deeper systemic problem. A physician's day used to be defined primarily by sitting in a room face to face with patients. Today, direct care is constantly interrupted by a massive influx of administrative tasks. This chart compares how doctors spend time historically versus today. Transitioning to electronic health records created a massive data entry requirement for every patient. Now, physicians juggle rounds, clinic visits, and endless paperwork in short timeframes, their attention violently fractured across shifting priorities. They are essentially doing two entirely separate full-time jobs at once, practicing clinical medicine and acting as high-speed data entry clerks. This modern logistical architecture actively pulls doctors away from the core mission of healing. It creates a baseline level of intense physical fatigue before they even address a patient's actual illness. But the paperwork is only the first hurdle.
Okay, so as you can see, it's trying to mimic what you found in the data, or you try to mimic the information that was generated that we selected. We try to mimic this note, right? That contains all the initial codes and also the themes, right? Because of time, I cannot go through everything. Let's try to do the next one, the one that we were a little bit specific in terms of telling the system to focus on the causes of burnout. So let's see what we got.
We tend to think of occupational burnout as a process of erosion, a slow, mechanical wear and tear that compounds steadily over a lifetime of work, breaking the person down only after decades of continuous friction. But qualitative data extracted from the daily routines of primary healthcare practitioners reveals a sharp contradiction to that assumption. This chart maps burnout intensity against a physician's years of experience. If burnout resulted from accumulated wear, we would expect a rising trajectory. Instead, the data plots an extreme peak of intensity at the starting line of a medical career. As years in practice increase, the reported intensity of burnout drops. The relationship is inverse. A newly minted resident carries an immense psychological load, while a late career attending operating in the same medical field maintains a protective degree of professional autonomy. Physician burnout operates as a stage-specific occupational hazard, peaking when practitioners are newest to the field and most vulnerable. To understand why this hazard targets the young, we have to look at the qualitative data set that exposes the reality of daily clinical practice. This thematic analysis gathers transcript data from 5 primary healthcare physicians, identified as participants 1 through 5, documenting their unfiltered experiences on the clinic floor. By taking anecdotal breakroom frustrations and subjecting them to rigorous thematic coding, Researchers isolated the specific triggers of physician exhaustion. The transcripts show that burnout is a multifaceted structural failure of the workplace rather than a lack of personal resilience. The hazard is driven by a collision of administrative load, work life conflict, early career vulnerability, and a societal expectation of infallibility. By treating these subjective experiences as objective data points, we can map the structural anatomy of modern physician burnout. The first driver of this hazard is the mechanical, systemic baseline of modern healthcare. The data reveals a heavy consensus on systemic burdens. Participants 1 and 2 single out the proliferation of administrative tasks and electronic health records. The transition from paper to digital systems permanently increased the workload and intensified daily time pressures. Physicians must now squeeze a high density of mandatory screen time into the limited windows previously reserved for direct patient care. Data entry requirements now dictate the physician's load, adding a digital burden to the existing volume.
I really like this presentation because it provides the audience a little bit of background information about participants, right? And also emphasizing on some kind of differences in demographics and how it also affects the burnout experience. And I think that's really powerful. I like this one better than the other one. So you see how providing a little bit of information when you are creating a video can also help the system to customize the video so that to be very useful for you.
Of patient visits. This mechanical data requirement leads to the next major theme in the study: work life conflict. Participant 1 describes a fatigue from dual roles. The clinic's structural workload bleeds into the personal domain, stripping away restorative time required.
I like the idea of not only providing explanation of the themes, but also citing participants, right? Giving evidence in supporting of the theme, it makes your presentation very strong and very convincing to your audience.
For family life. This inescapable daily friction drains all practicing physicians, lowering their baseline endurance and leaving them exposed to severe psychological stressors. Returning to the peak of the curve, we can analyze how that mechanical baseline affects newly mentored doctors. The study identifies a distinct amplification of pressure specifically tied to the early career phase. Participant 4, a doctor with only 2 years of experience, states, "I appear so young. I often have to work a lot harder than some of my older counterparts." The researchers coded this phenomenon as the necessity of overcompensating for youth and inexperience. Younger doctors operate under intense pressure to prove their worth, struggling to build trust with families who doubt their competence based purely on their age. This forces the new physician into a psychological two-front war. First, they must master the overwhelming administrative baseline and clinical volume of the modern medical system. Second, they must simultaneously battle implicit patient bias. Every diagnosis requires extra emotional labor just to establish its validity. This dual pressure extracts a constant psychological tax, a cost that veteran physicians with established practices no longer pay. Beyond administrative and career stage pressures, the study isolates the burden of unrealistic infallibility. This theme captures the psychological weight of possessing definitive answers in an uncertain field. Participant 5 noted they were expected to know the answers for all medical problems, even when there may not be a definitive answer. Society demands absolute certainty from its medical professionals. Patients want a definitive cause and an immediate cure for
Again, I like the way the information is being presented. Stating the theme, explain what the theme is all about, providing evidence and explaining the evidence and connecting to the theme, right? This is a perfect way of presenting your findings.
complex ailments. The biological reality is different. Human biology is chaotic, complex, and unpredictable. This gap creates profound cognitive dissonance for the physician. They face clinical uncertainty daily, yet feel an implicit mandate to project total infallibility. This internal distress compounds the physical fatigue caused by the administrative load. The infallibility mandate turns routine medical practice into a toxic stressor, affecting early career practitioners who haven't built the long term confidence to acknowledge medical uncertainty. Moving to the far
Oh,
right of the career timeline.
okay. So This is what I have for you. If you have any question, please let me know. I'll be happy to address them for you. If you want me to do another video, one example is, do you want me to do a video on how to use NotebookLM for interpretative phenomenological analysis data? Let me know. I'll be happy to do a video on that. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share my videos to your colleagues. I think it's going to be helpful to them. And thank you so much for your time.